I like making plans. And most of the time, most of you know I'm a well-organized person. I don't like leaving things to chance. When it comes to travel in particular, I am most comfortable and most relaxed when it's all laid out and I have everything organized. I hate flying Southwest because I don't like not knowing where I'm going to sit. That's all going to change in a few months. So I'm one of the people cheering for finally they're going to get assigned seats. But I do all the research in my group of friends that I travel with. I try to account for everything in order to keep things as clear as possible so that then I can relax and unwind. The big picture about heaven and the question posed by the disciples challenges me a great deal because it gets to the heart of what I can't plan and for which I don't have all the answers, most especially for myself. Will only a few be saved? Well, in Luke's gospel, where followers are advised to give their possessions away and consider anger a form of murder and lust as a prelude to adultery, perdition seems all but inevitable. Jesus seems to, at first glance, agree with the question when he recommends the narrow gate. He seems to imply that this is going to be difficult and that there won't be many who will manage it. Actually, I'm not sure that that's what he's saying. When we hear the first reading today from the prophet Isaiah, we get something altogether different. Jesus is working from a well-known text about broad inclusion that defines God's saving plan. Isaiah not only predicts that foreign nations will come to see God's glory, because he's saying that they're coming from all over, even prophesying about the wise men, the Magi, coming from the east, from a distant land, to adore the newborn king at Christmas. But he says that even foreigners would be eligible for Israel's priesthood. Priests in the Old Testament belonged to the tribe of Levi, but Isaiah prophesies that others will be welcomed to the priestly class. That was an audacious prophecy in the time of Isaiah and was still shocking to hear coming from Jesus, saying that people will come from lands far away. Here's the challenge for us today. There is a gracious, generous invitation to follow the Lord. There isn't a certain class or group for whom the invitation is offered, but it's extended well beyond what we can fathom. That would have been a challenging message for the disciples and for the people of Jesus' audience to understand. That they thought that this was about a chosen people. And Jesus says, no, this is bigger than you can imagine. There is a gracious invitation to follow the Lord and to accept a place at the banquet table of heaven. But he says it's not an easy choice. There are consequences and there must be sacrifices. The narrow gate isn't meant to exclude because it is open. It is an open gate, but it takes work. I have to plan and prepare. I have to understand the Lord's offer and his expectations through a life of prayer, of reflection, of discernment that we talked about last week. And I have to train for a lifestyle of attitude and thoughts and actions that resembles that of Jesus rather than the in-crowd or political rhetoric or some fad or TikTok craze or an easy scheme. Taking on the lifestyle and the path marked out by Jesus will narrow us, strengthen us. The letter to the Hebrews reminds us about discipline, about trials, and about sacrifice. This time of year, our student athletes are working hard, enduring the rigors of tryouts and summer training before a new season of fall sports begins. My runner friends and I are pushing ourselves to train for fall races, building endurance for longer distances and pace. Me, I find myself fighting the temptation to cancel my race reservations. and I'm having to push through that temptation to keep at it. And so it is with following Jesus. This is what the letter to the Hebrews says. All discipline seems a cause not for joy but for pain. And we'd say, yep, got that. Yet later it brings the peaceful fruit of righteousness for those who are trained by it. We recognize the victory, the blessings, and the grace that come from the rigors of being a disciple. And so we are encouraged, strengthen your drooping hands and your weak knees. I'm right there with the weak knees part. Make straight paths for your feet, that what is lame may not be disjointed, but healed. So Jesus is not by any means narrowing the pool of the saved simply by saying that it's difficult. He's saying that divine rescue comes more easily sometimes to the outsider, to the one presumed excluded, than perhaps to the one inside who is presumed to be saved. It's a caution for us who might be complacent to say, I've got it all figured out, and a great blessing and encouragement when we might feel more discouraged, that we feel that it's beyond our reach. If I want to stand one day in the eternal happiness of heaven, I have to find that narrow gate and pursue it relentlessly. Maybe in some figurative way, to lose some pounds to fit through the door, the pounds of self-righteousness or presumption of holiness, and find myself, not by my efforts, but by mercy and grace, edged inside. St. Peter Claver was a Jesuit missionary in the 17th century to the slaves in Colombia. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity while on vacation to visit his shrine in Cartagena and celebrate Mass at his tomb. He said this once, "Since gold and silver, which are only corruptible metals, are purified and tested by fire, it is but reasonable that our faith, which surpasses all the riches of the world, should also be tried." We should expect that faith be difficult, but it is also built by grace. When Jesus was asked if only a few would be saved, the question betrayed the answer that was anticipated. Jesus refuses to put a number on the saved, but he does say that there will be trials, there will be difficulties. But anyone and everyone are welcome to pursue that path. God isn't putting restrictions, but putting the choice and the invitation before us. Today's opening prayer puts it best, I think, and it might be helpful to pray this throughout the week. You can find it in your Magnificat, you can find it in various online resources. But this is what we prayed as the opening prayer. And I recognize that a lot of times these opening prayers are dense and grammatically complicated, and they kind of wash over. And they might be worth repeating, but this is what we prayed. O God, who caused the minds of the faithful to unite in a single purpose, grant your people to love what you command and to desire what you promise, that amid the uncertainties of this world, our hearts may be fixed on that place where true gladness is found. Amen.